Hello and welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald. With me, co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today we're going over the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA Offseason recap and preseason predictions episode. It's going to be great. We talked about Portland last year. They were an interesting team last year, a lot better than both you and I expected going into the season. They've done some very good things this offseason. We'll talk about them as we go forward. Before that, we have a trivia question. We're doing that now for these off-season things, and it's going to be related to the Portland Trailblazers. What do you have for me related to Portland, Sheldon?
All right, Patrick. Who was the most recent NBA All-Star for the Portland Trailblazers, not named Damian Lillard?
Oh no. Oh no. I was thinking it was going to be somebody since Dame, but no, that really wouldn't make sense either. So, before Damian Lillard, thankfully there's some popular names with LaMarcus Aldridge and Brandon Roy to where I think it would be one of those two guys. So I'm going to go with LaMarcus Aldridge because I think in like 2013, 2014, he probably made an All-Star game.
That is correct, Pat. Very good ball knowledge there. 2015. So you're off a year on but still pretty close. But yeah, Brandon Roy was the next guy too in 2010. So it's
Let's
been a minute.
go. Well-known MVP Brandon Roy. No joke, he was very, very good anyway. But yeah, Portland Trailblazers, as we know, Dame time is loading. We're going to first talk about the 2025 Portland Trailblazers. They were 36-46 a year ago, 12th in the Western Conference. Their expected record was 33-49, which was 23rd in the NBA. Their SRS was also 23rd in the NBA at a minus 2.67. At home, they were pretty respectable at 22-19. On the road, 14-27, not good. Pre All-Star break, 23-32, and then post All-Star break, a lot more respectable at 13-14. In against the Eastern Conference, they actually fared very well at 17-13, and then against the Western Conference, struggled a ton, 19-33. In clutch games, they had a minus 7.3 net rating, which was 22nd, ultimately resulting in a 15-18 record in clutch games, which in theory isn't that bad, but they were not great in clutch moments. What do you have to say about these Portland Trailblazers, Sheldon?
It was definitely an interesting season for them. Little disappointing, you can see by the numbers. A thing that you can look at, though, is that post All-Star break number. They turned it around by their terms. I think they went on a little stretch near the end of the season. They got a lot of positives, I think, from some players. Klingon being one of those, Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharp. And it was a very interesting offseason for them, as we're going to get into it.
Yeah, they were just ultimately a lot more competitive down the stretch of the season, and a lot of people, started to learn about what the good parts of the Portland Trailblazers are, and we're gonna try to sift through that a little bit more today, just a little bit more, because we'll talk about their overall defensive rating. But post All-Star break, they had it's much further down. I got to go to the scroll bar.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just terrible. Um, oh no, it's just not gonna. Well, okay, it'll tell me points per game. That's good enough. Post All-Star break. Apparently their defense was actually worse post All, or that's their offense. Their offense went from 109 points a game to 114, which is a lot better. And then their defense went from allowing 115 points to allowing 112. So they were just a lot better post All-Star break.
Yeah.
That might even, I think that is outscoring their opponents by a good bit, I believe, right? 114 to 1, yeah, like they were outscoring opponents post All-Star break. So even that 14-13 record or 13-14 record might be a little deceiving. They might have been even a little bit better than that. We'll go forward. We'll start with their offense. As we said, pretty poor offensively, 111.7 offensive rating, which was 23rd in the NBA. They committed turnovers at a pretty high rate, 20th in the league. 6th in offensive rebounding was a positive for them. eighth in pace. Isolation frequency, I will go ahead and get into the play types. Isolation frequency was quite frequent at 7.6%, 0.88 points per possession on those isolations, ranked 18th. Ultimately, not too terrible, but it is a lot of isolations that they're running. Pick and roll ball handler efficiency. This is kind of like the staple of rebuilding teams, being very high and running pick and roll ball handler reps. They were fourth in frequency there, 0.89 points per possession. They were just not great at it in general. Roller frequency 24th, didn't do a ton of roller stuff. And then league average inefficiency, not terrible. Post up frequency and efficiency was terrible. They didn't do either of those things. And then transition frequency was quite frequent, but they were terrible at converting in transition. I'll let you go ahead on the start with their offense. If you can point to any reasoning behind any of these things, I'll let you go first.
Well, the pick and roll stuff being the pick and roll stuff is very interesting. I think I'm a little surprised that the roller frequency wasn't used more. I guess that's just the difference of having A10 as a roller and Klingon as a roller, because I felt like they did kind of like that Klingon rolling to the basket a little bit more to the second half of the season where he ended up getting more playing time. But the isolation stuff makes a lot of sense. This is a team that tried to go ISO a lot, and a team like when you have Anfrey Simons as your ball handler, you're gonna want to have him dribbling the ball a lot, and especially when you're not really in a like playing for anything competitive, he's going to get a lot of shots up and a lot of the touches. So a lot of that makes sense. The transition is that's concerning because you're getting a good opportunity, a good bit of opportunities to get easy points with transition. Usually, you have at least a man or two advantage, right? And the fact that they were so terrible at converting on that definitely shows to why the offensive rating was so bad. Like you can see at these numbers, they're either middle of the pack or all the way at the bottom. So it makes sense how that the offense was definitely one of the struggle points of this year.
Yeah, because like they were a young and athletic team, so you would expect him to be decent in transition. And they were able to get out at a solid rate. I mean, usually there's not too much of a difference in transition percentage from like fifth through 25th, but they still got out at a decent rate, but they just couldn't convert. Not a ton of great passers on this past year's team. Some of the bigs didn't run in transition. It was a really weird situation. They were not a super disruptive team either, which makes it even more impressive that they were able to garner so many transition opportunities. As we'll go ahead and talk about their defense, roller stuff. A lot of the time, their bigs weren't setting good screens. I think that plays into their bigs not hustling a ton in transition. And that that is specifically about one big who we'll talk about in a little bit. Ball handlers, they were solid. So was their isolation scoring. They had to fall back on that a ton, as you can see by their high frequencies and those things. Not something that you want to do. Post up game was completely non-existent for them. Rather inefficient uh, scoring, and then a lot of their other bigs just not very good in that area of play. It was an unfortunate season for the Portland Trailblazers. You good to go to their defense? I think that's the more interesting part.
Yeah, let's go to it.
So defensively, overall they were a 114.7 defensive rating, which was 16th in the NBA this past season. Obviously, like we said, split wise, it was a lot better in the second half of the season. Turnover percentage, they were not good at forcing turnovers, 26th in the NBA. I would assume it's better in the second half, but obviously not super great. Defensive rebound percentage, they were at least getting their rebounds, which is probably a large reason why they were able to get in transition, but they were also just not good scoring in transition. At least they were finishing off their possessions throughout the entire season. That's a positive. Isolation defense was pretty solid, 12th in efficiency against, and then high frequencies, something that you do want to see. pick and roll ball handler defense, they could not do it. Uh, this will make a lot of sense with some of the moves they decided to make this upcoming offseason. Frequency relatively high, or not relatively high, like relatively normal. Usually you want to see these be high, but for them, they were so bad at defending the possessions that you kind of don't want it to be high. It's really, really tough situation. They also didn't garner a ton of rollers. Makes a ton of sense when the guards are scoring all the time that they were, and it appears as if they did have the roll man unlocked ninth ranked in the NBA this past season. Um, and then post up percentage, 18th in frequency, 13th in efficiency against. Pretty solid. Like they were not bad in this category whatsoever. I think the real thing that was bringing down their transition defense is that even though they were decent at defending uh, in transition, it still hurt their overall defense by having the second highest transition frequency in the NBA. They're just super efficient possessions. Even you look at like the most efficient, one of the more efficient defending transition defenses, they were still not they're still averaging almost 1.1 points per possession against other teams are. So that's the main thing I would point to with Portland's defense. I'll let you get the floor here for a second on them.
Yeah, it for me, like what you've been talking about, it seems like the bigs were doing their job, but the guards and some of the wings weren't really doing some of theirs. You can really see that with the pick and roll ball handling. Um, and like you said, they addressed that during the offseason. Teams would just attack that. They had hard times. They had hard time with the pick and roll game, getting over screens and stuff like that. And yeah, led to a lot of transitions. Like you said, never helps, no matter how good you're defending it. And second most in the league is very eye opening. Um, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's it's like a it's weird because it's like not the worst defense that we've but like they have some really glaring problems when you look at it.
it should have been so good defensively. Like they should have been really good defensively, and we'll talk about it as we get forward into projecting for this next season for Portland. But it should have been a good defensive team last year, and they ended up being league average. But I mean, you just look at some of the other teams like in their range, like the Knicks, the Pistons, um, the Kings. I think were still in this range defensively. Like Portland should have been better than them defensively. They weren't. So for a couple of those teams, just really unfortunate for uh, the Portland Trailblazers this past year because they were sneaky close to making a play-in spot. Um, we'll go forward. You ready to go forward to their next uh, defense or their scheme and coaching staff?
Yep.
All right. Head coach is Chauncey Billups. GM is Joe Cronin. Over here, you see Joe Cronin. He is smiling. He's done some stuff this offseason. New assistant coaches. James Posey, new assistant for them starting this season. He had been a NBA player for a couple of seasons. He has since been head coaches or assistant coaches in certain spots. Um, Apparently had a stint as the head coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Most recently was an assistant coach for the Phoenix Suns. He's now come over to join Chauncey Billups. Wouldn't be surprised if they ended up playing together in their NBA careers. I think they probably crossed over. Tiago Splitter, former NBA player, played a ton with the San Antonio Spurs in his prime. He had ended up being a assistant coach for the Brooklyn Nets for a couple of seasons. Ended up working with Houston, an assistant coach in Brazil, and then working in Paris basketball. Now he is an assistant coach for the Portland Trailblazers, working under Chauncey Billups. Patrick St. Andrews, another head coach of theirs, or new assistant head coach of theirs, worked a ton in the NBA in his career. Dating all the way back to 2013 under Mike Budenholzer, or that might not have been even Mike Budenholzer, but he stayed with the Hawks during the Mike Budenholzer era, then followed Mike Budenholzer to Milwaukee, then coached in Taylor Jenkins' system for 2 years, ended up getting firing, and the tomfoolery that happened with their organization. Um, and then Quinn Crawford, another former player. I'm not super sure if he was an undrafted player. I'm pretty sure he went straight into coaching. But he's been an assistant coach, a video coordinator, and he's done a ton in the NBA world. Most recently also was an assistant coach in Phoenix in 24-25, and now is joining Chauncey Billups' staff in Portland. Do you have anything that you want to talk about on scheme, or even if you have anything to say on coaching, or if you have any Joe Cronin shots that you want to fire?
I'll wait for the Joe Cronin stuff, and when we get to the free agent part of the podcast. I mean, I generally like what Chauncey Billups has done. I think he was given a tough situation, and he's been doing a good job of handling this young team, a team that's had some locker room problems at times. So I think that, especially for this team, Chauncey Billups is a great coach for them. And shout out Tiago Splitter, like I rock with him. So
For sure. Uh, you know, I think a lot is yet to be seen on Chauncey Billups. I think he got a huge extension this past offseason. Go prove it for me now, Chauncey. I said last year that he might be on the hot seat. Um, Apparently Joe Cronin doesn't think so. We'll see. Joe Cronin believes in him. Something's good got to be happening there. Scheme wise, they kind of played offensively like a rebuilding team would. Um, Somewhat unserious basketball, and then they realized that they could be a great defensive team midway through this season, and they really leaned into that towards the end of the stretch. I think the offense will slowly catch up. I think Chauncey will, he's a smart basketball mind. He'll be able to help them build an identity offensively this season because they didn't necessarily have one. We'll get into it a little bit more. Draft summary. We're here with the draft. Big Tariff, Hansen Yang in the house. I, I'll let you go first on Hansen Yang because originally, I had to go back to him. I'll let you go first.
yeah, I love Hassan Yang. I think he was one of the first guys actually I looked at, and I had him pretty high up in our mock draft. I think, but yeah, let's get right into it. 7'2" center with a 7'2" wingspan, 253. So great size there. Pretty good post game, and he has a decent mid range. He showed some ability to knock it down. And he showed some ability to shoot the three, which I think is like the most intriguing part of him because in the draft combine, he shot really well from the 3 point line, and he was shooting well from the 3 point line even in summer league. So I think that could unlock his game even more. And I already think that he's a great player with the stuff that we had saw on. He's a really good playmaker, Pat. I know you'll love this 3.3 assists. Just able to do like a certain big man in the league. He's able to just like kind of sit at that top of the 3 point line and kind of watch things happen. And really good read. Like he reads the game so well, and he's able to fit passes into places you wouldn't even think. And we saw that during the summer league too. Like in the first game, he was throwing wraparound passes, and I think one behind the back, if I'm not mistaken. But um, and he's a pretty good defender in drop coverage as well. The stats for him on the year last year: 18 points per game, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.9 blocks. 33% from the 3 point line and 58% from the field. So you can see that he also has that defensibility where it's going to be hard to get shots up against him. Uh, the only real knocks to his game is just like with a lot of big guys that size, not very mobile at times with not very mobile, and he has hard time switching on to smaller defenders, and that's definitely might be a problem in the NBA because there's a lot of athletic wings and guards in this league, and teams love to switch on to matchups. So that's something that I'll have to work on, and then just I think the shooting's going to improve a lot. So I think that's like the biggest thing to look for him. But I love Hassan Yang. I think he's going to be great. I think he's like a really good replacement for Aiden, and I think he's going to be like him and Klingon are a really like sneaky good center duo, and they still have Duop Reith and Robert Williams. So I like the Reed. They do some cool pick and pop stuff with him. But I think this center room for the Trailblazers is looking pretty deep, and Hassan Yang should be a big part of that this year.
Hansen Yang, oh, God, I think technically it's Young Hansen. I Young Hansen, as soon as he goes to the league, he adopts the rapper name. He pulls the Chet Holmgren. He's wearing the do rag in the facility. Like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Um, Anyway, when I first went through him, I was like, all right, this guy's pretty cool. Like, hey, he's got the splash skills to be like a guy who should go in the late first, early second, and then Portland trades down, gets an extra first, and then takes him at 16th. And I was like, holy shit, what did I miss about him? He apparently won CBA Defensive Player of the Year. And it didn't necessarily pop in the film, but he was such a good shot blocker that like he was gonna get it. He's good positionally. It's also like not a super talented league, to say the
Hey,
least.
hey,
But
hey. Let's not be throwing shots at the CBA now, Pat.
um, objectively though, it's not a super talented league. So I think once he gets to the NBA, the defense is still definitely a question mark. Like you said, moving the feet, I would be concerned about. Even in drop coverage, like he's not an explosive athlete, so I'm not sure what to expect with him protecting the rim and drop coverage. I think there might be some vertical or some verticality concerns that he would have compared to your average NBA center, but he's good at being in the right spot positionally that I think he should be able to survive. Because with him too, like they say it's Chinese Jokic, but like he's kind of skinny. Hansen Yang is like he's not a bowling ball like Nikola Jokic is. So I'm really interested in what it looks like. Player comps because we have to make those. Would you come away with Hansen Yang?
I mean, of course, I got the Jokic player comp, Pat. I mean, this is the next. I think you were the one that told me that we had a bunch of guys trying to be the next like LeBron and or no the next Steph Curry archetype, and now we're seeing a generation of centers trying to become the Nicole Jokic archetype. So I'll give the Jokic comp. I think like skill set wise, a lot of it's the same. I think the size is a little bit different, but yeah, I think the passing is comp. Well,
Yeah,
Jokic is definitely like levels ahead of him, but I think that yeah, I would say that his passing is like the feel for the game. Yeah.
playstyle wise, it 100% lines up. Impact and talent wise, it definitely won't be Nikola Jokic. At least I don't think. Um, But yeah, I 100% get it. Originally, I thought this pick was a reach, but apparently a lot of teams were like, yeah, you're not making it out of the first round. We would take you. Um, so I really don't think it's bad by Portland. I think if I had to get to a name, I have to think of like facilitating big men that aren't Nikola Jokic and don't have like a top five all time feel for the game, compared like Nikola Jokic, and it's like, is he a non-defensively talented Marcus Gasol? That's kind of where I get to with Hansen Yang. A little bit slimmer, even though Marcus Gasol did get up there a little bit towards the latter part of his prime or the early part of his career, I believe. He kind of slimmed down a little bit. Or is it like late Cavs Kevin Love? Maybe, or maybe it's even like Minnesota Timberwolves Kevin Love if he actually played the five. That would be kind of good. I don't think he'll quite be as good as those guys because Marc Gasol was an all defensive type player. But if Marc Gasol was one of the 10 worst defensive centers in the league, that's what I would expect from Hansen Yang, which is still a really great player. And like you said, pretty good replacement for DeAndre in my opinion. Um, you got any else on Hansen Yang? What's there to expect from him this year?
Wait, one more time.
Anything else on
The,
Hansen Yang
I mean, I
expectation
don't think
wise?
I mean, nothing really, but I guess like, do you think he comes in and is that backup big like day one, or do you think or do you see him maybe playing the four? I see him as a five. But
I think he's a 5 too.
yeah. But like they still have Robert Williams. Do you want to throw him out there with his injury problems? Like, or do you give Hassan Yang the chance? Maybe not game one, but maybe like a month in, do we see him getting like some decent big minutes on this team?
I'm He's going to be the number one backup quarterback type situation where everybody knows that this guy's pretty good. And I think it's going to be like Chauncey Billups is going to take a minute to trust Hansen Yang. But once he does, I think everybody will be like, yeah. It's like when LaMelo Ball had his rookie season and they were bringing him off the bench for half the year. I think it'll be a situation like that, but Hansen Yang obviously wasn't the number 3 overall pick. Yeah, I think it'll be something like that. And Portland's also better than those garbage Hornets teams were. So yeah, it probably won't be a right away rotational player, but I think he should be at some point before his rookie season. And like if I think the Duop Reef thing also makes it tough because Duop Reef was also pretty good last year, and even Chauncey wouldn't play him at times. It's just so crazy. They have so many centers. We'll get forward into the trades and free agents then. They have signed Damian Lillard to a 3-year, $42 million contract. He will be out for this entire season. I think it's awesome that Dame's coming back. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Drew Holiday, they acquired in trade for originally Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks, but then they got it overturned that Boston didn't send the right medicals over, and now it's just Drew Holiday for Simon straight up. And then they acquired Blake Wesley. I wrote down in a trade, but it might have been after he was bought out from Washington. I don't exactly remember. I just remember him getting traded to Washington. Do you know if he was traded or bought out?
Blake Wesley?
Yeah.
Uh, I think he was bought out. I don't remember us
Okay.
trading him.
Okay. Well, I'll let you say. What do you have on these signings?
The most interesting. I don't know what's more interesting, the Drew Holiday trade or the Dame Lillard free agency signing. So I guess we'll go with Drew Holiday first. You give up Anthony Simons, who was a huge part of your team last year. 19 points per game, two rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 36% from the field. But Pat, how many years did they have left on him? Like 2 years, or was it one?
Just one.
Just one. Yeah. So to get Drew Holiday is I mean, a really good trade, I think. This is a guy who, elite defender for the Celtics, and was a huge part of their 2023 NBA championship run. And he was a really good shooter for them last year. I think he shot a lot more threes than like he usually does because just of how the Celtics were. And his role was diminished too, obviously, because you have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Chris Tops, all those guys. So do we see a Drew Holiday like back when he was on this Portland team where he's able to take shots? I mean I think that will definitely I think we'll see that because he has the three ball, he has the defense. Oh, the thing that he really hasn't had just like last year was the volume of shooting. He didn't really get a lot of shots up, only averaged 11 points per game. So I think it's a great trade. I mean, yes, he's older. Yes, his contract is pretty big, but I mean, you have Scoot Henderson who you're trying to develop, so you go get a great vet in Drew Holiday, who's a great defender as well. So I really like that. I really like the trade for Drew Holiday. Yeah, I think he's veteran presence, good shooter, great defense. Damian Lillard. This has been a saga for sure. The whole Dame stuff. I think it's awesome though that he came back. Of course, it's going to be so cool seeing Dame Um, play in Portland, and he has a 3-year deal. So even though he'll miss this year, he still will have 2 years with the team. And I mean, he played pretty good, Pat. He played, yeah. I mean, he put up good numbers relative to this Portland team. Obviously, not what he wanted to do in Milwaukee, but 24 points per game, 24.9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and he shot 37.6% from the field. So he still has that clip on his side, and he's ready to shoot it at any time. I think this is a great trade. It's a feel good story. You don't really give him that much money because he's already getting so much from the Bucks. So you go get Damon. I mean, if you're looking at this team, like in crunch time, did you have a guy to go to last year? Like maybe Denny, maybe Shaden Sharp, I guess Anfernee Simons, but you were just going to get like a step three, and now you have a guy that you can go to in the clutch with Dame Lillard. And maybe we get some more points
Next
for
year,
this.
though.
Yeah, next year. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Like, I think it's a good trade though, just for that reason.
Yeah, I think
Concerning.
The Blake Wesley signing probably won't be too consequential for them. He wasn't really that great with San Antonio. He's a great defensive player, and uh, that's just about it with Blake Wesley. But Dame and Drew Holiday is super interesting, and I don't know how to grade either of these signings because adding these guys onto your roster is always going to be a good thing. I think the Drew Holiday to Anfernee Simons to Drew Holiday upgrade is like really significant. We just talked about it. They were the worst at defending ball handlers in the pick and roll this past season. Drew Holiday is only going to help that, and that alone is a great signing for them. Adding Damian Lillard is weird, and we'll talk about it when we get to the lineups standpoint of this, is really weird. They gave him way more money than anybody else could offer him, which was again weird. They gave him a player option and a no trade clause. It was weird, but I can't hate adding Damian Lillard onto the team. It's I'm not sure yet what this is all working up towards. We'll talk about it once we have a little bit more of an understanding of what Joe Cronin's trying to work up here. But on the margin, these are not on the margin, but in a vacuum, these are good moves, and I understand them. But then you add them all up together, I'm just not sure how the pieces 100% line up just yet. There's only time will tell with these specifically with Holiday and Lillard, especially because the Holiday contract is so big and it hasn't started yet. It's starting this season. I just it could end up poorly for them. Um, Next is notable losses. We obviously touched on the Anfernee Simons going to the Celtics. Under them, you see Jabari Walker went to the 76ers. Justin Minaya, Bryce McGowens, and Delano Banton are unsigned. DeAndre Ayton goes to the Lakers after a buyout with Portland. Are any of these huge in your opinion?
I mean, the only one I would really say is maybe huge is the Simons trade or the Simons thing, just because of some of the stuff I mentioned before. I mean, he was a huge part of their offense, and um, just a guy that would kind of like he could go on a run by himself with the 3 point shot. It felt like, and the guy that they turned to in the clutch. But I mean, other than that, like I really don't think any of these are that big. I mean, I think the Aiden thing is an addition in itself that they got rid of him. Um, or at
Oh,
least a win in itself.
trust me, I've got the numbers ready.
Okay, okay. So I think, yeah, I don't think any of those are too serious except for Anfree Simons, but you get Dame and um and Drew Holiday, so I think you got some decent replacements there.
I think weirdly enough, Jabari Walker might be their biggest loss, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Just like on a value standpoint, Jabari Walker getting him back on a league minimum would have been really good, even if like their roster didn't really need that. But regardless, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Credit to Spot Track here. Here is their cap situation. As you can see, they have this Drew Holiday contract that is, I guess, not just starting, it's in the second year. Him and Grant line up perfectly, basically making the same amount of money on these huge contracts. Denny Avdia's contract is just so wonderful. It's descending. It's like less than the mid-level exception. Denny Avdia, wonderful. Damian Lillard is making the mid-level exception. He's got the player option in the same year as Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant. I think Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant are going to pick those up. I don't know about you. Um, Rob
Oh yeah, for
Williams,
sure.
Rob Williams and Thibault are expiring contracts, pretty large. I would expect one of, if not both of them, to get moved, if not before the season, by the deadline. Scoot Henderson, their books are pretty clean outside of these huge Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant contract. How that affects them, Credit to Fanspo. This sheet is just so awesome. I love to look at it. Cap space wise, they could technically have cap space uh, in the next year's offseason. They currently do have another $5 million that they will be able to throw out somewhere. But yeah, they could have cap space theoretically. It's just there's a lot of things that would go into that, into making some cap space. But we gotta look back here. They're gonna have to figure some type of extension out in the long term for Denny Avdia because they will not have substantial cap space until Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant come off the books. So all that to be said, they're relatively clean book wise. They're not screwed. They're not in a super good place to have 3 max slots. We'll have to see. We're here to the lineup data. You mentioned addition from subtraction. DeAndre Ayton is a big addition. I'll let you. Did you have something to
I was
say?
gonna say that's crazy. That's like literally what I said, and then that's the title for the.
Yeah. DeAndre Ayton, just in general, we're going to have the stats with DeAndre Ayton on and the team off. DeAndre Ayton last season had a negative 6.8 net rating when he was on the floor. The team had a negative 1.6 net rating when he was off the floor. Still not great, but a lot better. Scoot Henderson actually maintained a positive net rating with DeAndre Ayton on the floor. What a soldier you are, Scoot Henderson. Um, as you can see, though, here with DeAndre Ayton on last year's, and they were not a good offensive team with a 111.6 offensive rating. Overall, as you can see, they were worse offensively with DeAndre Ayton off on the floor than they were when he was off, and they were like so much worse defensively when he was on the floor. Uh, were you about to say something there too?
No, I think it's fun. I think it's funny because like just how much like if you just watch, he just doesn't care on defense, and that's why they're so much worse when he's on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. You go here, you look at Scoot, he's still like it's a no, not a huge signal either way with Scoot Henderson. They were actually a little bit worse with Aiden off the floor. With Sharp on the floor, minus 6.8, offense is mid. With Sharp out there and Aiden off, the offense gets a little bit worse, but they're overall still a better team. Denny Avdia minus 3.62. Offense isn't great with DeAndre Ayton off. They're pretty neutral, and then the offense is actually pretty solid. Samani Kamara, when him and Ayton share the floor, they get outscored by minus 6.83 per 100. Offense is terrible. You take Ayton off the floor, they're outscoring teams, which is rare for the Trailblazers, and they have a 114 offensive rating. And then you add DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons. They're 2 big losses. They're getting outscored by 11 points per 100 possessions. The offense sucks. And then the when Simons was out there without Ayton, they were still a bad offense. With all this to say, Anthony Simons also was a negative offensively for them last season, just like DeAndre Ayton was. And we know how terrible they are defensively.
Yeah,
Like losing both of these guys might help the team.
yeah,
Unfortunately, and it's like I think Simons can still bounce back as a good player next year, and we'll talk about Aiden when we get to the Lakers. But it's just so weird. I have one more slide for lineup data. Usually we usually get one, but today we're being blessed with 2. We're gonna play. These are their most played lineups this past season. These are all of their lineups. I think there's one more playing 70 or more minutes. Their number one lineup here is played 251 minutes. It was Grant, Simons, Ayton, Avdia, and Kamara. And they had a negative 13.6 net rating. They were terrible. Chauncey Billups loved this lineup, though. Grant, we talked about Simons and Ayton. Grant was equally pretty bad as well last season. Um, Simons, Avdia, Sharp, Kamara, Klingon played 155 minutes together. They had a plus 4.4 net rating last season. Grant, Simons, Aiton, Sharp, Tumani, Kamara played 137 minutes. It's got the big three of Grant, Aiton, and Simons, negative 30.5. Simons, Aiton, Avdia, Kamara, Shaden Sharp, plus two, respectable in 134 minutes. Avdia, Scoot, Sharp, Kamara, Klingon was actually a terrible lineup with a minus 17.6 net rating in 74 minutes. Um, with most of their good players in that lineup, that's unfortunate. And then Aiton, Avdia, Henderson, Scoot, or Sharp, and Kamara was a 5+5.8 last season in 50 or in 70 minutes. And there's one more. This has their Grant, Simons, Avdia, Tamani Kamara, Donovan Klingon. They were plus 34.8 in 70 minutes played last season. Any of those things, any of this, have any comments that you want to bring up?
I mean, I think the biggest okay, well, the most played lineups. It's crazy that Chauncey kept going to it, considering it was like or it was one of the not good ones of the bunch. And then it's just crazy like how bad, or not how bad, but how much the offense and defense were affected by both Simons, um, Aiden, and also Grant were just really like declining as just like a talent, I guess, or not as a talent, but like just what he does on the court, um, also contributing to that. And it seems like there's a lot of good things happening whenever Klingon's in the mix with some of these lineups as well. So yeah,
I think the most jarring thing too is there's only 7 lineups that played 70 or more minutes last season, and two of the three ones or two of the three with 100 and or here of their ones that played 100 more or more, like two of them were terrible and objectively bad. And I don't know how this happens, but yeah, Chauncey, I am putting Chauncey Billups on the hot seat for Joe Cronin, because I don't see how
our
this.
first official Patrick McDonald hot seat stamp of the off season goes to Chauncey Billups.
Here I am doing the one thing I promised I wouldn't do: call for people's jobs and throw hot takes out there. But I just don't understand how this happens, because I think none of these lineups played more than 20 games either. Like, it's so crazy that there was no continuity lineup wise, and some of that has to do with injuries and just weird things going on. But we'll go forward to the lineup section. I think there could be some cause for the debate here with what these lineups are. What I settled with was Drew Holiday, Shaden Sharp, Tumani Kamara, Denny Avdia, and Donovan Klingon. I could see a lot of different variations of what their starting lineup looks like. What do you think it should be?
I like this one. I mean I really like this one actually. I think maybe the only thing that could change is just Grant playing over Sharp and Kamara playing the two, just because of like them needing to contractually obligated to pay to make Grant start just because of how much money he's getting. But like if that happens, I think it would be Holiday, Kamara, Abdia, Grant, and Klingon. But besides that, I think I like this lineup too. I actually like this a lot. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of versatility between that 3 and 4, or the 2 through 3 spot, 2 through 4 spots there.
Yeah, this is completely like a nothing burger to the viewers, but I think I've added a new layer to my Blazers Bucks controversy. I'll let you know after the episode what I
The
think it is.
secret, the secret episode coming out soon.
Yeah, it'll be coming out. Trust me. If not, the viewers will hear about it during the 2K My GM that we do. Yeah, I mean, I could see them starting Grant. I think starting neither of Sharp or Scoot Henderson is kind of admitting defeat on both of them. Um, so I don't know if they want to do that just yet. But I think Tumani Kamara and Denny are definitely like better than Jeremy Grant. I think this lineup will give them the best chance to win this season if they run this out there. And then defensive situations, they can do more things. Um, what do we think the lineups will look like um, when Damian Lillard is back in a year or so? Like, what do we think this ends up looking like in a year when Damian Lillard plays?
Um, either put Drew on the bench or move him to the two, and then keep the same and then put Sharp on the bench. I mean, I like having Kamara, Avdia, and Klingon like in the starting lineup. I think those three are like kind of my guys. I like them. I think everyone else can. I mean, I feel like with Drew Holiday, you got to start him, and I feel like you got to start Dame. So I mean, unless you want to go Dame Sharp, Kamara, Avdia, and Klingon, and then have Drew come off the bench and be the sixth man and lead the second group.
Yeah, I just don't know what it looks like when Dame comes back. Like, what happens with Scoot when Dame comes back and Drew Holiday's still on your roster, and Shaden Sharp is like your one developmental play that's hit. Like, I just don't know what it ends up looking like in the long term. Um, I thought about starting Scoot at first, but then I realized they traded for Drew Holiday and I need to put him there. Um, what if they do a chaos lineup of Drew Holiday, Thibault, Kamara, Grant, and Denny Haftia?
Drew Holiday, Thibault, Kamara, Grant, Avdia. Hey
You
man,
know,
Thibault,
they'll switch
Thibault,
everything on defense.
that would be great. That's like 30 seconds left of the finals. I feel like that's the lineup they're gonna run.
Yeah, up four when they're playing the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. And Drew Holiday will be guarding Wemby for the entire game, and people are going to call Wemby a fraud. Just so ready for it. They're Chauncey, patch something together, please. Play at least have your two best lineups not be terrible next year, please. Um, there's a lot to be had here. They've got a full roster as well. It's worth being said. Core questions. We've made it. Did they improve this offseason?
I think they did.
I think so as well. Um,
I
they
think yeah.
lost. They lost a bad player. They lost Anthony Simons, who last year was a bad player. They added Drew Holiday, who's at least fine. Like, yeah, I think they got better. Do we think they set themselves up better for the future during this offseason?
Mm, for the future, I'm gonna say no because they got two aging stars. But they did get a center. I'll say no. I'll say no. They didn't set themselves up for the future.
Yeah, even though I do agree that Drew is definitely better than Anthony Simons, like, if they would have just let Anthony Simons expire after this season, I think they're in a better position than having Drew Holiday making $35 million a year to maybe start when Dame comes back. I don't I would kind of agree that it's just like a not really situation, but they did get better this year. And getting Dame is definitely something that could improve them for the long term, but he's going to be 36 next time he plays and coming off of a torn Achilles. Like, I don't really know how much that moves the needle. Realistically, they could have pushed themselves out of being a lottery team that like has top 6 odds and push themselves out of even having a chance to get one of the best 3 players in this next draft. I think that is the argument that if they wouldn't have done anything, they would have been a bottom 5 team in the league. So probably not. Offensive MVP for this upcoming season for Portland.
This is a tough one. I'm leaning two guys. I feel like right now. I'm leaning Shaden Sharp, but I'm gonna go with Denny Avdia. Uh,
Yes.
Got to go with the former Wizard goat, Denny Avdia. The way he's able to score, his 3 point shot was just so good this year. I feel like it improved so much. 16.9 points per game, basically 17. 7.3 rebounds. He shot well from the 3 point line, 36%, 47% from the field. Was averaging a good bit of triple doubles too this year. Um, Double doubles as well. I think that his versatility scoring is very important. The way that he's able to drive to the basket and finish around the rim. He can also score in the mid range game as well. And like I just said, he can shoot the three. So uh, if you looked at it when they needed buckets, they went to him a lot of the time. Even though Anthony Simons was their 3 point shooter, like if you needed a pure bucket getter, they would go to Denny Avdia. So that's what I'm going to go with.
As well as gonna be my offensive MVP. Just, Denny's, I think, was their best player last year. Like by far, he was their best player. We kind of said that going into the year. And that I don't really think that was like the consensus take that Denny was the best player on their team. And yeah, he was great last year. I think he probably shouldn't be your offensive MVP if you want to be a good team like Portland, I think, wants to be, but they're trying to be a defensive first team that just patches it together on offense. They might be like the 20th best offense uh, this upcoming season compared to 23rd last year. But they want to be one of the best defenses in the league, and they think that's going to get them to an 8 seed. And I can't say that it won't. Defensive MVP for them this upcoming year. What do we think?
That one's more tough, Pat. I I don't know. I Man, I mean, I'll go Matisse Thybulle. I'll go Matisse Thybulle is going to be the defensive MVP. We're going to get some flashbacks to Philly. 2.2 steals per game last year. Um, hey, he's still got it. Um, I'll go Matisse Thybulle. Yeah, I'll get a little funky here. I'll go Matisse Thybulle. I think he's still a capable defender and a good perimeter defender as well.
I I can see it a little bit, but I just don't know how much he's going to play. Is my concern with Matisse. Like injuries on top of low minutes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but impact wise, he's gonna still be pretty good. I agree. I'm thinking Klingon or Tamani Kamara. I could see either one of them. Since I think they're wanting to play more drop defense with adding Drew Holiday. And Blake Wesley as well, who can defend still, even though it's Blake Wesley we're talking about here. But I think they're going to try to play more drop defense around Klingon, who's a great rim protector, like actually an awesome rim protector as a prospect, and that's why he went in the top 10. Should have gone higher in that draft. We said so. Um, yeah, I would say Klingon probably. Maybe he has a Rudy Gobert type defensive season this year. That would be so sick. They get a top 4 seed off of Donovan Klingon drop defense and a shit offense, and then they just have to get Donovan Mitchell in the draft with the 13th pick, and they're good. Um, X factor for them this season. What do we have?
I'll go to Mani Kamara. I think he could unlock a lot for their offense. And he's also a really great defender for them. Like the stuff that he does on defense is so good. I think that's definitely he's an X factor on defense, and he can be the X factor on offense. Only 11 points per game this year, but he shot really well, 37% from the 3 point line. Maybe clean it up when you get inside there, 45% from the field goal, from the field. 5.8 rebounds. It'd be interesting to see him get the ball in his hands a little bit more. See what he could do offensively. See if he could create on his own, maybe at some points. Obviously, you don't want to get stuck with that, but maybe let him shoot the ball a little bit more too.
Yeah, my X factor is gonna be Shaden Sharp because if he takes the step forward that we have been hoping for a while that he does do, that's their Donovan Mitchell. Like he can be that good, hopefully. Um, not, I don't think he'll be as good as Donovan Mitchell, but they need him to be because we just went through their lineups. Like he's the only I mean, you could say Denny because he's talented offensively, but I wouldn't say he's offensively slanted like Shaden Sharp is. That being said, he's got some way to go to be like good enough to be your number one option on a playoff team. And as of right now, he's probably not even their number one. But if he becomes their number one option, then I think that puts them in a place where they can be a top four seed next season. He if he becomes their number one option, he's better than Jalen Green was on the Houston Rockets a year ago on a number two seed that was a defensively slanted team. And I think Portland might be better defensively than Houston could have been because they have Donovan frickin' Clean. So yeah, I would say that's why I would go Shaden Sharp. I think this could be a good year for Portland. What do we have to expect for them?
Yeah, I think one of the higher, or I think the play-in's definitely an option for this team. The West is so stacked. That's why I kind of hesitant on saying like 7, 8 seed. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking like 9, 10 range for the squad.
yeah, we'll talk about it more when we predict the entire Western Conference. That'll be um, a part of the Ultimate Predictions episode that we do following the other 26 teams that we're going to be doing here. Whole lot of them. But next week's episode, which I guess will be in 3 days following the upload of this, will be the Utah Jazz. We get to talk about Danny Ainge. Will be very fun. We will see you guys then.